Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on DraftKings and Yahoo for Monday, January the 11th. We're going to cover Monday's 8-game slate, position by position like we always do. Just before we get started with the breakdown, as always guys, I'd appreciate it if you would hit the like button down below, hit that subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll also get notified every time I do go live. I do plan on live streaming for today's slate. I'll probably go live sometime in the afternoon around 4 o'clock Eastern time. So if you're able to tune in, definitely recommend you check out the live stream this afternoon. I'll be able to answer all your questions. If there's any news that breaks throughout the day, we'll be able to cover that in the live stream. So be sure to check out the live stream. But for now, we're going to take a first look at Monday's slate. Start off at point guard. So at the top here, we got Luka Doncic at the top, most expensive option, $11,300 on DK. Luka, I think, is definitely one of the better pay-up options on the slate. This is a slate where we do have a lot of good spend-ups. You got Luka, you got Giannis, you got Bradley Beal playing without Russell Westbrook, you got Joel Embiid playing without Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons, you got Lillard, Julius Randle, Trae Young. So there's plenty of spend-up options on the slate. I think Luka is towards the top for me. Right now, I think Joel Embiid's my number one guy. Bradley Beal probably a close second, but Luka would be right up there with both Embiid and Beal. I mean, Luka's a guy that you can basically always play, but right now he's having to do more offensively. We've seen that Josh Richardson's been out, Dorian Finney-Smith has been out. I think those guys are still going to be out for this game. One notable thing though is that Kristaps Porzingis does have a chance to return. He is listed as questionable, so he actually has a chance to play today, which is noteworthy. Obviously, if Porzingis does play, that is a downgrade for Luka, but I would still have interest in Luka overall. But like Richardson's still out, DFS is still out, Brunson's still out, so Luka's having to do a lot offensively. I would prefer that Porzingis be out, but even if he plays, I still think Luka is for sure in play on the slate. But then you got like Damian Lillard at 9,700. Tougher spot for Lillard against the Raptors. I don't think this is going to be a slate where I really go out of my way to play Damian Lillard. He's finally been heating up recently after kind of getting off to a slow start to the beginning of the year. Had that really big game against Minnesota. Kind of disappointed against the Kings, but that was a freaking almost 30-point blowout. He only played 30 minutes. I would expect Lillard to have a better game here, but I don't think he's going to put up a ceiling game like he did against Minnesota, not against this Raptors team. So next guy, Trae Young, I do want to talk about. So Trae Young, I actually have interest in here against the Sixers. Normally the Sixers are not a team I really go out of my way to take players against, but they are missing so many guys, man. Like I think the Sixers have 9 healthy bodies for today. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to play all 9 guys, but Joel Embiid is expected to play, but Ben Simmons is out, Tobias Harris is out, Seth Curry is out, Shake Milton is out, Furkan Korkmaz is out, Tybal is out, Mike Scott is probable, he's expected to play, but then Poirier and Ferguson are also out. So there are just so many guys out for the Sixers right now. I don't think this team is nowhere near as good defensively now that all these guys are out. It is a better spot for Trae Young than you would expect. And because Philly is so thin today, this is one of those slates where we're going to want to target guys from the Sixers because they're basically running an 8-man, 9-man rotation. I'm going to have probably 3-4 Sixers in my lineup tonight for sure. So, it makes sense to run it back with Trae Young. I do like at 9,400. The price is coming down on him because he's been, kind of struggling lately, but I would expect him to bounce back at some point, and it could definitely come here against a pretty depleted Sixers team. So I do have a lot of interest in Trae Young, especially in tournaments. I think he is going to be pretty low-owned on this slate. But like scrolling down, Malcolm Brogdon's been playing so well recently. His price has started to come up. He's up to 8,300, but he's put up at least 43 DK points in 4 straight games. He's playing huge minutes, 38 to 40 minutes a night. Pretty good matchup here against the Kings. I still have interest in Brogdon in that 8K range. I think out of all, the 8K guards, he's probably my favorite of those in that range. But LaMelo Ball, someone I do want to talk about in the 7K range. So his price is also starting to come up, but he has been playing so well recently. He's coming off his first triple-double of the season, and this definitely will not be his last triple-double of the season. He's going to have a lot more. This is a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. He can contribute in all categories. He nearly had a triple-double the game before that against the Pelicans. He was 1 assist shy. Like, LaMelo isn't someone that needs to, he doesn't need to score 20, 30 points to really hit his ceiling. Obviously, if he does, he's probably going to put up a massive game. But we've seen, LaMelo can get 12 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, and put up, 40-plus DraftKings points. He's not very scoring dependent. He's someone that can contribute in all categories. And, when you do get those games where LaMelo is hot from the field, where he's knocking down shots, like we saw last game, those are the games where you're going to get 50, 60 DK points for LaMelo. We know the points are going to, or we know the rebounds and the assists are going to be there. It's just a matter of how much can he score, how much can he score, which is just going to add to his floor and his ceiling. Against the Knicks, a really good matchup. If we're going to continue to get around 30 minutes for LaMelo off the bench, I think, maybe by the end of the season, we'll see him in the starting lineup at some point. This is such a productive player when he gets minutes. He's a guy that, stuffs the stat sheet, like I said. At $7K, I don't mind paying this price tag for him on this slate. There's plenty of value to where you can kind of pay up for these guys in the mid-range and at the top. So I really like LaMelo on both sides. I'm hoping that, with the price tag coming up, that's going to keep his ownership down, which I think will be the case. So he is someone that I do have a lot of interest in tournaments in a very favorable matchup. Like other guys in that range, not much else stands out. I think Terry Rozier is fine at 6,500. Elfrid Payton as well at 6,400. Neither one of those guys feel like core plays for me, though. Halliburton, he actually did move into the starting lineup last game. Richaun Holmes was out, and they moved Marvin Bagley to center, and then they started Halliburton. He did play 31 minutes in the starting lineup, had 27 DK points. If Richaun Holmes is out again, I think it's likely we do see Halliburton start. Maybe they start Whiteside if Holmes is out, but given that given they moved Bagley to center and started Halliburton, I assume that's what they do again. At 6,200, I want Halliburton to be starting because, at this price point, he does have to put up a really good game to pay off this price. But he's shown that when he does get minutes, he can be productive. If Holmes is out, I think that is a boost for Halliburton, and at 6,200, he would be viable in that 6K range. Devontae Graham, I think, is still a little bit too cheap, 5,800. Continues to play big minutes, 32 minutes, or at least 32 minutes in 3 straight games. Been productive as well. Even on some of these games where he hasn't shot the ball well, he's still been contributing in other categories, been giving you rebounds, been giving you assists. He's a guy that can get steals as well. He doesn't stuff the stat sheet quite like LaMelo Ball does, but Devontae Graham, he's a guy that can give you rebounds and assists. He doesn't have to score 30 points to really have a good game, especially not at 5,800. You could have one of those games like he got against the Pelicans where he has 17 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. That is easily in his range of outcomes. He doesn't need to knock down 6-7 threes to, really hit value. So I still like Devontae Graham. Eventually we're going to see one of those games where he gets hot from the field, knocks down 5-6 threes and puts up, 40 plus DK points. We're going to have one of those games at one point. I think here against the Knicks could possibly come because this is definitely a good matchup. So I do like Devontae Graham at 5,800. I think, he still remains a little bit too cheap. Other guys, though, in the 5K range, I don't think much else stands out. Cole Anthony is going to start with Fultz done for the year, but, he's up to 5,600 now. I don't think we need to really play Cole Anthony at 5,600. I would definitely rather play Devontae Graham. Austin Rivers has been getting pretty big minutes off the bench, but, at 5,300, his price has now come to a point where I don't think he's going to be a guy I really go out of my way to play. Tyrese Maxey, though, I think is the clear play at point guard today. He is only 4,700. He got massive minutes last game, played 44 minutes. He nearly played the entire game. He took 33 shots, 8 3-pointers. He had 61 DraftKings points. So that was a game on Saturday. It was not a part of the Saturday main slate. It was just kind of like an island game in the afternoon. So in that game, pretty much everyone that's out today was out, plus Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were also out then. I believe Mike Scott was out then as well. So they had, in that game on Saturday, they had a 7-man rotation. They had 7 healthy bodies. So that's why you saw Maxey start and play 44 minutes. I don't think he's going to play 44 minutes again, but with Ben Simmons still out, Maxey should start again at point guard, probably get over 30 minutes. And this is a guy that has shown, even coming off the bench this year, he can be productive when he does get minutes. As the starting point guard for Philly tonight, in a great matchup against the Hawks at 4,700, even though the price came up a lot, Maxey is still way too cheap in my opinion, especially if he's going to get the minutes, which he should since Simmons is out. Philly's just going to be so thin tonight that they're going to have to give these young guys big minutes, and I do expect Maxey to play big minutes once again. On a point-per-minute basis, I don't know if he's going to be nearly as productive as he was last game, given that Joel Embiid's going to play, and we obviously know that Joel Embiid is a very high-usage player. He's going to demand the ball. But Maxey should still be productive, when he's on the floor. And if he's going to play over 30 minutes, he's going to start. He's too cheap at 4,700 in a matchup against Atlanta. So love Maxey on both sides. He's too cheap on Yahoo as well. Scrolling down, he's all the way down here at $15. I think he stands out right now. Honestly, is just one of the better overall plays of the slate, and definitely is one of the better value plays for sure. But really, that kind of is it for point guard. You got the Washington guys, Raul Neto at 4,600, Ish Smith at 4,400. Both those two guys are viable today since Russell Westbrook is out. Last game Neto started. He did play 20 minutes in the starting lineup, had 17 DK points. Ish Smith got good run off the bench, played 28 minutes and had 23 DK points. Assuming Neto continues to start, I think he probably gets about low 20s minutes, but with the way that Ish Smith has been playing lately, if I'm going to target one of these Washington guards, it's going to be Ish Smith for me, especially because he's a little bit cheaper. He's a guy that can be productive when he gets minutes, especially since Westbrook is out. I would not be surprised if they start Ish Smith today, given that he's played just much better than Neto overall. He's been getting more minutes than Neto as well. So if right now I prefer Maxey for sure over these guys, but I think Ish Smith is definitely in play. Even if he comes off the bench again, he should still get probably high to mid-20s in minutes. And at 4,400 against the Suns, definitely someone you could look to. Trey Burke, he was really popular last slate. Played 21 minutes and had 40 DK points. He could not miss at all. He shot 11 for 13 from the field, 7 for 8 from 3. I would not expect another game like that from Trey Burke. I assume he continues to come off the bench, even with Richardson out. They started Josh Green last game. I don't know if they're going to start Josh Green again. I mean, if Burke starts, I guess he's in play, but I'm not really going to chase the Burke game, especially since that price came up. I think there's just other guys I'd rather go to. I would definitely rather play Maxey over him. So really, I think that's it for point guard. I think we broke everything down at this position. So let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard now. So at shooting guard at the top here, I definitely like Bradley Beal. I think he is one of the top options overall on the slate. I know he's expensive on DraftKings. He's $9,900, but with no Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal is just going to get so much usage. He should play a ton of minutes. As long as the game stays close, we should get 35, 36 minutes from Bradley Beal. The ball's just going to be in his hands a ton. Thomas Bryant's also out, so that's another guy out of the starting lineup that, could maybe take usage and opportunity away from Beal. Basically, we're going to get the Bradley Beal that we got last year, a guy that's going to play close to 40 minutes if it's a close game. He's going to take 25, 30 shots because there's no other, big offensive weapons that the Wizards have. Now that Bryant's out, now that Westbrook's out for this game, I like paying up for Bradley Beal on this slate. I think he is, once again, one of the top pay-up options. I liked him a lot on Saturday, and he obviously got ruled out, about an hour before tip-off. But I'm assuming Beal's plays today. I'm pretty sure he's already, off the injury report. He's expected to play. So love Bradley Beal on both sides. I think he's one of the best shooting guard plays overall today. If you can fit him in, which you should be able to do so today, there's plenty of value, specifically from the Sixers, that we can look to target. But like other shooting guards we could maybe go to, if I'm paying up, I think Bradley Beal's my top option. I don't really love McCollum, VanVleet, or Booker on the slate. I think Booker is viable just because it's such a good matchup against Washington, but he's not nearly been the guy that he was last year in terms of upside. We haven't really seen a big 50-point game from Devin Booker. His best game of the year was last game out against the Pacers when he had 43 DK points. Even if he gets 43 DK points today, or like 45, that's still not really that good at 7,900. I'm looking for 50-plus from Booker. Sure, he could do that against Washington, but I still don't think he's going to be a guy I really go out of my way to play. If I'm paying up at shooting guard, I'm just going to try and get up to Bradley Beal at the top. But other guys we could look to in the mid-range, I still think Oladipo is viable. Just, like Malcolm Brogdon, Oladipo's playing a ton of minutes. He's been way more productive this season on a point-per-minute basis. He's kind of looked like his old self this year. I think he's a good option at 6,900. Scrolling down, though, if we're looking, below 6K, talking about cheaper options at shooting guard, I mean, not much stands out in this 5K range in terms of, core options. 5K and below, though, like Norman Powell, he started on Sunday for the Raptors, and I assume that he continues to start. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that I want to target, though. He didn't really have that good of a game in the starting lineup. It's not like he's not much of a high-usage player when he's playing alongside Lowry, when he's playing alongside VanVleet. He's like the fourth option on the team when he is in the starting lineup. So maybe he plays more minutes with him starting, but, at 5K, I don't think I really want to go to Norman Powell on this slate, even if he does start again. I think Damian Dotson is viable, especially if Colin Sexton remains out. Last two games with both Garland and Sexton out, Exum's out as well. The Cavs right now, they're just really thin in terms of their guards. We're seeing Dotson have to play big minutes, 35 and 41 minutes the last two games, 26, 40 DraftKings points. Pretty good matchup here against Memphis. I think Dotson's going to start again as long as Sexton remains out. And if that's the case, if we're going to get 35, 36 minutes from Dotson without Sexton for 4,900, he actually would be a viable option on the slate. If I'm looking for a shooting guard below 5K, I think Dotson definitely stands out at 4,900. Danny Green should have to play a lot of minutes for Philly as well just because they're so shorthanded. But still, even if we're going to get 36 minutes from Danny Green at 4,700, I don't want to pay 4,700 for Danny Green because he could still put up 20 fantasy points in 36 minutes. Just not that productive of a player when he gets minutes. He took 17 shots last game, but I don't think that's going to happen again now that Joel Embiid's back. So even though even though Philly is so thin, Green's going to have to play a lot of minutes. I still don't really want to target him on this slate. I think if I was going to play Danny Green, it would be on Yahoo where he is $11. He's really cheap at small forward. If I was going to play him, it would be over there. Probably not going to go to him on DraftKings, though. I really think that's it for shooting guard. Like, Isaiah Joe had to play a lot of minutes last game. I believe he did start. He played 45 minutes. He almost played the entire game. He still wasn't that productive on a point-per-minute basis. Just 24 DK points in 45 minutes. With Joel Embiid playing, Joe, he's already not that productive of a player when he gets minutes, and now that Embiid's in the lineup, I don't really want to go to Isaiah Joe. Even if he does start, I think Maxey's the guy I would rather go to there. So yeah, I think that's probably it for shooting guard. I think we covered everything at this position. So moving on to the small forward position. It's small forward at the top. You got Brandon Ingram for 8,600, who I think is definitely in play on the slate, especially just due to the fact that, small forward is normally a pretty weak position, and that's kind of the case today. I do like Ingram at the top. I think I would prefer him over Chris Middleton. If I can find the salary, I would probably rather play him over Gordon Hayward. I have played Gordon Hayward a lot this year. He's been pretty good to me. He's definitely treated me well when I have played him. He's had some bad games this season. We've definitely seen that Gordon Hayward still has a pretty low floor, but the ceiling is there. We've seen 45, 50-point games. He had a 60-point game against Atlanta. Good matchup here against the Knicks. I don't mind Gordon Hayward either as a pay-up option at small forward. Him and Ingram definitely look like two of the best plays if you are spending all the way to the top. But going down to the mid-range, I do like DeAndre Hunter. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but the guy has been playing so well recently. He's been getting big minutes. He's been so consistent. I mean, 30-plus DraftKings points in five straight games with over 30 DK points. I mean, you look at his last 10 games, he's got 8 of his last 10 games over 29 DK points. Like, you're basically getting 25, 30 points from Hunter on a nightly basis. We've seen he can put up, 35, 36 points. The price tag, I think, is probably what's going to keep me less interested in him today. If he was cheaper, if he was like 5,500, I would have a lot more interest. At 6,200, that is a pretty hefty price tag to pay for DeAndre Hunter. Again, I think, on Yahoo, that's where he looks the most appealing just because, they're not as quick to adjust pricing. He's still only $20 over there. He's the same price as Mikal Bridges. Good matchup for Mikal Bridges. Definitely a good spot for him, but I think I would prefer Hunter over Bridges. I think Hunter, Danny Green, those two guys kind of look like more of Yahoo plays today rather than DraftKings plays. But like other small forwards in the 5K range, I mean, not much really stands out here. Like Cedi Osman should play a ton of minutes. He's been starting recently. 5,900 though. Again, not really a price tag that I'm in love with. If we're talking about value plays below 5K, I think we can talk about the Philly guys here. So let's go ahead and go to Philly. So you got Danny Green at 4,700. I thought Mike Scott, he's power forward. So we'll talk about him when we get to power forward. I was going to talk about Mike Scott, but he is not small forward eligible. So we'll hit on him when we do get to power forward. But yeah, I think that's probably it for small forward. I think we kind of covered everything at this position. I guess I'll mention Deni Avdija just because he's been playing well recently. He did have a big game last time out with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal both out. Obviously, Beal's expected to play today, but Westbrook will still be out. I think without Thomas Bryant, with him done for the season, that does really help Avdija. He is a big, getting Bryant out of the rotation just, allows for Avdija to, it makes his minutes more secure. They're less likely to only play him 15 minutes without Bryant. Now they just have one less big, so I think Avdija probably starts again, or he's going to continue to start, but I think he probably gets, I don't know if he gets 32 minutes, but I think 26, 28 minutes is pretty likely. Against Suns, pretty good matchup, 4,300. No Russell Westbrook. I think Deni Avdija, as a small forward play in that 4K range. If I'm going cheap at small forward, if I'm looking for a guy like below 5K, I think he's the guy that stands out to me right now at 4,300. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about power forward. So at this position, plenty of good options at the top here. You got Giannis at 11K, Julius Randle at 9,600, Sabonis at 9,300. I think all three of these guys are definitely in play on the slate. Giannis for sure is in play just because, the guy's basically in play every slate. I never have anything to say negative about Giannis. He's going to be so productive when he's on the floor. It's just a matter of can the team that he's facing keep the game close. If the game is close, though, you should get 32 to 34 minutes from Giannis. He's going to be really productive when he's on the floor. He's probably going to give you at least 50 fantasy points. Maybe you'll catch a random ceiling game from him and he'll put up 65, 70. In cash games, you probably want to try and fit in Giannis if you can. I think he's one of the safest options on the board, night in and night out. Against the Magic, not the best matchup, but maybe this is a game that can stay close, and we do get Giannis' full minutes. So I really do like him at 11K. It's hard not to like him, basically every slate just because he's so productive when he's on the floor. Julius Randle, though, I do want to talk about. He is 9,600. He's kind of been a guy that I've been pretty heavy on recently. You know, the upside that Julius Randle has, I don't think people really understand. The dude's just so productive when he gets minutes, and he's playing massive minutes right now. I know he only played 31 minutes against OKC. I believe that was on Friday, but he did have 5 fouls in that game. He was dealing with foul trouble the entire game. Only played 31 minutes, and still had 46 fantasy points. Like, if the game stays close and Julius Randle is not in foul trouble, he's going to play 38 to 40 minutes. He's going to just be so productive when he's on the floor. It's an excellent matchup against the Hornets. The Hornets are a terrible defensive team against bigs. I love Julius Randle once again in tournaments. I think he's going to be under-owned because people just see this price tag and don't want to pay for Randle. You know, they don't want to pay this price tag for him, but the guy is so productive on a point-per-minute basis. When he's playing 38, 40 minutes a night, you're going to see 50-plus point games from him, you know, very often just because he's a guy that's so productive. So, love Julius Randle at 9,600. I do prefer him over Sabonis. I never have a problem with Sabonis either because Sabonis is another guy that's just so productive on a point-per-minute basis. But I think I like the matchup a little bit more for Randle. I like his upside as well. He's definitely one of my favorite power forwards overall. Honestly, given the savings, I like taking the savings and playing him over Giannis. I think there is a legit possibility that you see Randle outscore Giannis. So at 9,600, love Julius Randle at the top of the power forward position. Kristaps Porzingis, I guess I'll mention just because he is questionable. He does have a chance to return or make his debut for the Mavs for this season. You know, he's 8,200 on DraftKings, so I think at this price point, in his first game back from injury, I won't be playing Porzingis even if he does return. But I do want to mention him on Yahoo. So he is really cheap on Yahoo. Over here, he's only $23 at center. He's cheaper than Nurkic. He's only $1 more than Richaun Holmes. If we get word that Porzingis is going to play like, I don't know, 22, 24 minutes, I think he's actually viable on Yahoo just because the price tag is so low. Like, Porzingis, when he's fully healthy, should be close to $40. Like, you are definitely getting a discount on him. Assuming he does play, and he's going to play like at least 20-ish minutes, I like him a lot on Yahoo at $23. And if by some chance he's not limited at all, I mean, he would be probably the best play on the slate at $23 on Yahoo. So just keep note of that. Porzingis is very affordable on Yahoo. He does look like a really good play if he's not limited here. On DraftKings, though, at 8,200, there's just other guys I'd rather go to on this slate. Other power forwards, though, again, you know, I talked about how I'm going to be playing a lot of guys from the Sixers, so running it back from, you know, some guys on Atlanta makes sense. John Collins, I always have interest in, 7,400, much better matchup for him. You know, now that there's no Ben Simmons, there's no Tobias Harris, I do like him at 7,400. Other power forwards, though, like we talked about Hunter that you could look to. Chris Boucher has been playing so well off the bench. I don't know why, but the Raptors just they refused to start Chris Boucher. I thought there was a possibility he would start on Sunday. They said they were going to make some changes to their starting lineup, and it turned out that they were going to put Norman Powell in the starting lineup and then put Siakam at center. I think, you know, maybe at some point we'll see Chris Boucher in the starting lineup. Even if he comes off the bench, though, like he should play probably 22, 24 minutes off the bench. He was in foul trouble on Sunday, and he still put up a massive game, even though he was limited because of his foul trouble. I think he played like 20-something minutes, 22 minutes on Sunday, and he fouled out in 22 minutes. You know, if you're even getting 24, 25 minutes from Boucher, like the guy is so productive on a point-per-minute basis. He can legit put up 50 fantasy points in 25 minutes just because he's going to score, he's going to rebound, he's going to block shots. He's a guy that can just absolutely stuff the stat sheet. So even though Boucher's not starting and he's still coming off the bench, and even though he is expensive at $6K, the guy has shown massive upside when he gets, you know, at least 20-ish minutes, and that should continue to be the case on a nightly basis. So I like him a lot at $6K. He has definitely passed up Aaron Baines and Alex Len in terms of, you know, center minutes. Like, they are definitely looking to play Boucher first over those two guys, and I think Len and Baines both were DMPs on Sunday. So right now it's basically just Siakam and Boucher getting all the center minutes. And that's obviously what we want to see. So I do like Boucher at 6K. I like him a lot. If Richaun Holmes is out, I think Marvin Bagley at 5,700 will be a really good option against the Pacers. He had a bad game last time out, but you know, a lot of that kind of had to do with blowout. He only played 24 minutes. If Bagley starts again at center, he's a great play at 5,700. I would have a lot of interest in him. With no Westbrook, with no Thomas Bryant, I like Rui Hachimura quite a bit at 5,500. Another guy that was dealing with foul trouble last game, only played 26 minutes because he was in foul trouble, but still had a pretty solid game with 26 fantasy points. You know, Rui is someone that can be productive when he does get minutes, should get more usage without Westbrook and without Bryant, should play some more minutes at center as well with Bryant off the floor. So I do like Rui quite a bit at 5,500. I think Bertans as well for 5,400 looks like a solid option. Both those two guys I have a lot of interest in. But if talking about, cheap plays at power forward, if we're going 5K and below, Deni Avdija, who I mentioned, obviously have a lot of interest in. I do want to talk about James Johnson. So if Maxi Kleber is out, Maxi Kleber, I believe, tested positive for COVID, but they're not sure yet if that's if it's a confirmed positive or it's just like a false positive. Right now he's listed as questionable. If Kleber is out, we already know DFS is out. There's a chance we have both Kleber and DFS out for this game. James Johnson would probably likely start at power forward and would become a really, really good play. He's a guy that can get, or that can be productive when he does get minutes. And he played 26 minutes last game off the bench. That was with Kleber healthy. Now, by chance that Kleber's out, we might get 30, 32 minutes from James Johnson. And at 4,100, given he's like a point per minute player, he would be a really good value play. I would like him a lot at power forward, if Maxi Kleber does wind up out for this game. But the last guy I want to talk about at power forward, so going over to Philly, obviously with no Tobias Harris, with all these guys out, they're just going to be so thin today. They have non-healthy bodies. Mike Scott is expected to play, and I am assuming that Mike Scott does move into the starting lineup, assuming he is able to play. I think he was active, or he was available to play in their last game, but they decided not to play him just because he was still dealing with an injury. But right now he's listed as probable, and he is expected to return on Monday. So with no Tobias Harris, with no, there's just so many guys out. With no Tobias Harris, no Ben Simmons, no Seth Curry, no Milton, no Korkmaz, no Tybalt, no Poirier, no Ferguson. So with all those guys out, I am assuming that their starting lineup will probably be Maxey, Embiid, Danny Green. Those three guys will for sure be starting. I think Mike Scott likely replaces Tobias Harris, and then figuring out who's going to start for Seth Curry, like who starts at shooting guard. It could be Isaiah Joe. It could be Matthias. I think one of those two guys probably starts, but I am assuming that Mike Scott starts at power forward, and he is minimum salary $3K. In my opinion, he is a top value play, assuming he does start today. Mike Scott, we've kind of been down this road before. Like, there will be nights where he'll start and he'll be chalky, and then he won't really do anything. He'll play like 25 minutes and give you 15 points, but given there's no Simmons, no Harris, like two of the highest usage players are off the floor for tonight, like, I know Embiid's going to dominate the usage, and Embiid should have a monster game, but he can't do everything. There's going to have to be some other guys that contribute, and Mike Scott is someone that can score, that can contribute when he's given the opportunity. And if he's going to start and even play, high 20s in minutes, at minimum salary $3K, great matchup against the Hawks, I think Mike Scott is a great value play today, assuming that he is healthy and not limited, going to start. I like him a lot on both sides. He is also minimum salary on Yahoo, so love Mike Scott today. I am assuming that he does start at power forward, which makes him a really good value play on this slate overall. But yeah, I think that's probably it for power forward. I guess we could mention Paul Reed. Paul Reed did get some time last game. He played 26 minutes. I have no idea if he gets that many minutes today. They have non-healthy bodies, like I said. Last game they had 7 healthy bodies. With Scott back, with Embiid back for this game, I don't think we're going to get 26 minutes from Reed. I think he's likely to play maybe low 20s minutes, maybe like 18, 20. I guess there is a chance that he maybe starts for, maybe he starts at power forward, but right now it seems like Mike Scott will be the likely guy to start. So really, I don't have much interest in Reed more than just like a, low-owned GPP dart throw. I think we can go ahead and move on to center and talk about the center position. So at the top of the center position, Joel Embiid is just clearly the number one play here by far, in my opinion. 9,800 on DraftKings. Looking at Yahoo's pricing, he's coming in at $48 over there. I know Embiid is really expensive, but given that there's no Tobias Harris, there's no Ben Simmons, there's no Milton, there's no given that all these guys are out, Embiid's just going to dominate the usage. The offense is going to run through him. He should absolutely smash tonight. Like, there is no way that Embiid should put up less than like 50 fantasy points tonight. I feel like his floor is basically 50 fantasy points. Like, he's just going to dominate the usage. The ball is going to basically be in his hands a ton. He should probably take 20 shots. It's a fantastic matchup against the Hawks. Like, this is definitely one of those games where we could get a 35 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists type games from Joel Embiid. Like, he could just absolutely go off tonight. At 9,800, given that Simmons and Harris are both out, like, in this situation, Embiid should probably be like 11K. Like, he should be one of the highest priced players on the slate. He's my top stud overall. I think he's the guy I want to try and pay up for the most. Obviously, I really like Bradley Beal. I've talked about Julius Randle, Giannis, Luka. All those guys I think are really good pay-up options. But if I can only have one stud today, it's for sure going to be Joel Embiid. And, I have no problems playing 3, 4 Sixers today just because they're so thin. They only have non-healthy guys. Like, you're going to see these guys like Mike Scott, Maxey. These guys are going to be forced to play big minutes, and they're all so cheap that they're likely going to. Most of them are going to pay off their price points, if not all of them. So we got 3 Sixers right now in the early core, but I have no problems with that as of now. But yeah, other centers, obviously Randle and Sabonis we talked about, I really like, but those guys are definitely behind Embiid for me. Drummond I like as well at 9,200, but he would definitely be behind Embiid for me as well. Same with Vucevic. Like, I don't have any problems with those guys, but Embiid's just clearly the top center for me on the slate that I don't see myself really paying up for anyone else rather than Embiid. Other centers, though, like we talked about Collins, Joe Val, he burned me last slate, man. Joe Val was having a really good game last game, had 18 fantasy points in like limited minutes, 14 minutes, and then he got pulled from the game because of COVID protocols. He wasn't able to return, so he only played 13 minutes last game. It was a great matchup against Brooklyn. Pretty good matchup here against Cleveland. I think it makes sense to go right back to Jonas Valanciunas. He did just have a lot of success in this matchup against the Cavs, 41 fantasy points in 28 minutes. I think he does look like a pretty good option in the mid-range at center. I do like him at 7,200. Scrolling down, though, Steven Adams is questionable. That is an injury we'll need to watch. If he were to be out, that would probably benefit Jackson Hayes the most. Jackson Hayes is close to minimum salary. He's 3,100. I would assume that if Adams is out, Jackson Hayes starts, probably plays like low 20s in minutes. At 3,100, he's a pretty productive player when he gets minutes. He would definitely be viable if Steven Adams sits. If Steven Adams plays, I don't have too much interest in him, but that is an injury we'll need to watch for today. Other centers, though, like not much else stands out. I think, Chris Boucher, who we talked about, looks really good at 6K. Rashawn Holmes is questionable, so if he's out, that benefits Marvin Bagley. That would also benefit Hassan Whiteside. Whiteside, I think, is really cheap as well. He's 4,200. He played 24 minutes off the bench last game, had 28 DraftKings points. I think there's a chance that if Holmes is out, maybe they decide to start Whiteside today. Either way, he should probably get 22, 24 minutes again if Holmes is out. So be sure to keep an eye on his status. If he does wind up out, that benefits Hassan Whiteside, who would be a solid value at 4,200. But I think the last guy I want to mention, so with Thomas Bryant out, I am expecting either Robin Lopez or Mo Wagner to start at center for the Wizards. Last game with Bryant getting hurt, you saw Lopez be the first guy to replace him off the bench. Lopez played 21 minutes and had 13 fantasy points. And then Wagner came in also and got some good run. He played 20 minutes and had 26 fantasy points. Overall on a point per minute basis, Wagner is a much better, he's a much more productive player than Robin Lopez is. Even if Robin Lopez starts, I think Wagner is probably the guy that I would rather go to. I think you're probably going to see a pretty even split in the center minutes between Wagner and Lopez. Even if we get 22, 23 minutes from Wagner, like he's got definitely 25, 30-point upside in limited minutes just because he's so productive. He's a guy that can score. He can grab rebounds. The foul trouble is always an issue. Like he could definitely foul out like he did last game. He fouled out in 20 minutes, but assuming he's not in foul trouble, he should probably get 22, 24 minutes, maybe a little bit less than that. If he does start, I would feel more confident that he sees maybe 26, 28 minutes. So just keep an eye on the Wizards starting lineup. If Wagner winds up starting, he's going to be a great value play. Even if he doesn't, I still think he's a solid option at 3,600. And if Robin Lopez starts, I really don't have too much interest in him at 4,100. I just think there's other guys I'd rather go to on this slate. So yeah, I think that's it for center, guys. And then, we talked about Jackson Hayes. If Steven Adams winds up out, you could definitely go to Jackson Hayes at 3,100. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I do appreciate you watching. Pretty crazy slate we got ahead for Monday. A ton of injuries to watch. A ton of teams missing guys, especially the Sixers, missing a ton of players. So, it makes it kind of a clear slate. We had these Sixers guys we want to target. They're going to be popular, but I think for good reason. We can kind of mix it in, though, with lower-owned options. We can stack up these Sixers and then mix them in with, some of these lower-owned guys. So, it makes for a pretty fun 8-game slate. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button down below before you do get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also get notified every time I do go live. And if you enjoyed these videos, you can check out the Patreon content link down below in the description. I do have a lot of additional content over on Patreon, so if that is something that does interest you, be sure to check that out, link down below. But best of luck on tonight's slate, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. Make sure to tune into the live stream Monday afternoon, probably around 3 to 4 Eastern time. If you're able to tune in, I would highly recommend you do so. But best of luck, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.